Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. Back to proper work this week with students and classes and all of that kind of thing. For those who don't know, I work at a school in admin. So last week was a professional learning week, and then this week is back to normal. I am so exhausted after that week. It's going to be a really busy term, and there's lots of things already happening uh, and getting organized. And so it was a little bit hectic this past week. So I'm really glad for this weekend. I'm looking forward to some real quiet time and hoping that the weather is nice to be able to enjoy a little bit of outside time. And that's what I've been doing when I've been getting home from work this past week. The sun has been out. It's been cold, but with the sun, it's been actually quite pleasurable. I put a coat on, and obviously a woolen jumper and a scarf and everything, and I've been going for walks in the bush, which I haven't done in a really long time. I, during summer, tend to, as I said last week, hide away inside and not do all that much, and it's also quite dangerous to be over in the bush in terms of snakes and all that kind of stuff over that period of time. But as it gets cooler, it's a really lovely spot to go for a walk. So I've been going for like 45, 50-minute walks up into our bush um, on the sunny days when I've been getting home from work, just to clear the head and enjoy a bit of fresh air. I've seen so many little fairy blue wrens. I have seen kangaroos and rosellas, and I even saw a blue tongue lizard, and just exploring different parts of the bush that I really love to be in. And because it feels quite different parts of our bush. Some of it's quite open with big trees, and it's sort of like big canopy above and quite open underneath. And then there's other bits that are more wooded in with lots of tea tree and much thicker, close bush. And then we've got a hill that I can get to the top of and get a really beautiful view of the Yarra Valley. And last weekend, before I went back to work, I spent the sunny days out in the garden. I was thinking that I would come over here and sit and knit with the sun coming through the window, but I was really quite inspired. I started pulling a few weeds. I thought I'll just spend a little bit of time. And over the Saturday and Sunday of the weekend, which was Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show, I clearly didn't have that much FOMO because instead of even really focusing all that much on yarn and wool, I was out in my garden. I did lots of trimming back of plants off the path and did a whole lot of weeding, which the sheep were quite happy with because I was throwing all of the things that I knew were edible for them over the fence, and all the rest of the stuff I was putting in a big wheelbarrow and then taking and putting it onto our bonfire pile. First, to what I'm wearing this week, I'm wearing the Miranda jumper, which has a kangaroo pocket in the front, cable panel down the middle, and it's got quite an open neck, which is why I'm also wearing a scarf, which I'll also talk about in a second. This is made out of Bennett and Gregor in a natural brown. It is quite pilly. I wear it a lot. It is lovely and warm and so soft and comfortable. And actually probably one of the first jumpers that I made and that actually properly fits me, and I really enjoy wearing it. The second thing I'm wearing is also a finished object. This is my self-drafted Sophie scarf that I have been working on for the past few weeks. I've made it out of my own yarn in the Aura, which is my 8-ply brushed merino base, and this is in the river colorway. I'll take it off and show you. I used all except a tiny little bit of the ball. It was partly my fault because I didn't weigh it when I started, so it was obviously slightly larger than 100 grams because I started the decreases when I got to about 51 grams left, and I ended up with a little bit left over. But it's actually quite long, and it is so light and fluffy and beautiful and warm. I'm going to have to put it back on. Um, I think the best way I've found to wear it is just to sort of roll it up a little bit. I've worn it like this, where you can kind of keep it long at the front, or the other way is to just wrap it around and then bring the shorter tails to the front. Ooh, I'm trying to do it in the reflection on the screen, and then just tie it up, and then it just stays nice, and it's sort of like a little bit of a cowl, and keeps like double thickness around the back, which is really good. So I'm able to wrap it around twice, so it's long enough to do that, which is just the perfect length. I was really enjoying working on this in the evenings. It was easy garter stitch. I had a little clip to remind me of when to do my decreases or my increases, and it was on 6.5 mil needles, so nice and big. So part of the time I didn't even really have to wear my glasses because I didn't need to see it all that clearly. So that was a really lovely knit, and I think I'd like to make a few more of this kind of scarf in this yarn, because I said it is so light but also so warm. You hardly feel like you're wearing anything, and I think that's perfect. I'll share my other finished objects first. I finished the socks that I've been working on. I used the Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern, and I made these for myself for bed socks. So now I can wear them tonight, which is really exciting now that I've shown them to you. I used this yarn, which is Zilana Cozy in the Berry Bramble colorway. I have a full ball, and I have the 2 lots of leftovers from this. So I should easily be able to get another pair out of this yarn, which is good. I didn't cast another one on straight away because I was actually thinking about casting on a DK pair of socks, but I'll get to that discussion in a minute. But yeah, so happy with having these socks off the needles as well, and looking forward to wearing them because this has possum in it and it is beautifully warm. I also, whoops, the ball of yarn just flew off the back of my little table here. I also blocked my EXP. I'm not going to wear it because it's actually not a winter item in the wardrobe. Even though it's got a high neck, the jumper itself is short sleeve and is quite light. It is a 4-ply, and it is only 1 strand of yarn at any one time. It's not really double thickness. So I did do a little pre and post blocking video when it was sunny on the weekend. But to be honest, looking at the two, you really can't tell the difference, but there is quite a lot of difference in terms of the blocking. And when I was laying it out to block, you could see the difference between pre-blocked and while it was blocking. I think the main difference is that it sits nice and flat at the bottom. I've got a little bit more length through there, and these panels here have really opened up and stayed open, and the sleeves are now a little more relaxed. They were quite tight. They're still they're not loose, but they are now just like perfect. It feels really nice on, and I'm looking forward to wearing it once it's actually a little bit warmer. So I will wear it for you at some point here on the podcast, but not this week. Before I get on to my current projects, one of the other things that I did on the weekend, which I just forgot until I turned around to put my EXP down here, was that I have a whole lot of paper patterns, and I started to flick through some of them because I wanted to kind of get some inspiration and ideas for maybe things that I already have, so I don't have to buy another pattern for some projects that I've been thinking about. So I took a huge pile and I kind of sorted them into baby stuff. There was some dressmaking things in there. There was some crochet in there, and I've sort of separated them all out. And I went through all of the knitting stuff and looked for things that I was particularly interested in. I don't know if it's going to be all that interesting, but I found this old pattern. I really like the color work on this, so I'm going to keep that aside and maybe see if one day I will knit that one. I also found this one. It's got quite a few really nice yoked patterns in it. Why did I pull that one out? I found this jacket, which is quite similar to what I would like to make for myself in a really big coat version, that I talked about a little while ago when I was rewatching Nashville, and one of the characters wears this white coat jacket kind of thing quite a lot throughout the show. And I think I'd like to make it out of this 8-ply brushed merino, and I think that something like that would look really good. And then I was looking at some summer top inspiration, and I found this one, which, if you look at it really closely, is a very similar kind of cut to the Sabai top that everyone is knitting at the moment. This is knit in pieces and for a particular weight of yarn, so there'd have to be a lot of swatching involved to get it right, but might be worth having a play with. I've got some others aside here that I obviously thought was some interesting things in there, but I'm not 100% sure now that I'm looking at them because they're the full books. But yeah, I had some real fun doing that. It was nice sort of to look from an analog perspective at patterns rather than it just being a scroll through Ravelry, although I am looking deeply through Ravelry for some particular pattern inspirations as well. But I found these just by sitting here, looking out in the sun and flicking through these rather than being on technology or even doing any knitting. Have plenty more that I can go through and get some more inspiration from. And then I'm thinking perhaps once I've kind of pulled out the ones that I feel are sort of my aesthetic and that I might like to try, I think that I might bring them to some of the markets in the future and perhaps sell those patterns secondhand because they're just all taking up space here in the shed. Okay, now to more knitting projects. I'm going to start with actual projects. So my only current active whip on the needles now that I've finished the socks and this, is the Galan by Marie Amelie Designs. And I'm making that out of this silver grey and a strand of this sparkle. And it's making a really beautiful fabric. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. There it is there. I've put it onto a longer cable. I was a little bit ambitious last week. I said that I only had one lot of increases left to go before trying it on and potentially splitting for the sleeves. That was incorrect. I think I now have one left to go. I have been working on this, but not as much as I thought I potentially would. Especially since my weekend, I spent a lot of time outside of the garden and then looking through all of those pattern magazines and leaflets as well. So you can see it's a yoke top. It's got a beautiful sort of eyelet lace twisted stitch pattern running all the way down. I've made it a quite loose gauge. My plan is that it's going to be sort of a spring autumn type of long sleeved jumper that I'll be able to wear with a skirt or with jeans. This is the right side, so it is got reverse stockinette in between. But I'm knitting it inside out, and that's what it tells you to do in the pattern. So I'm not purling every round. I am knitting every round, And as you can see, now that I have it on slightly bigger cables, that's looking more like a size that's going to fit. So once I've done this last lot of increases, hopefully I'm not saying last lot of increases next week as well, I will put it onto a longer cable and double check that I am in the right spot to be able to split for the sleeves, and yeah, then work down. That looks, from the depth, that is looking pretty good in terms of a yoke depth. So and I'm really enjoying it. It is quite a like rhythmical pattern. It's knits and pearls, and then the lace is just done with a yarn over and a pearl two together, or a slip pearl. So it's pretty simple to follow. You've just got to know which row you're on, and when you can see that yarn over, you don't really have to count on those rows to know which ones to pearl. So you just keep knitting, and when you get to the yarn overs, you pearl. And I've been able to really quickly pick up any errors that I've made if I've missed a yarn over or whatever, and I can just sort of fudge that as I go along. So that is my Galan. So I mentioned that I had wound some yarn with the intention that I was going to make 8-ply socks out of it. The tag said it's Dreaming Colour. It is called Everlasting 8-ply sock, and it is luxurious hand-painted yarn. It was from the October 2023, October 2013 Dream Club. But then I look at it, it's a 100% superwash merino, and it says that it uses needle size 0 to 2, which is not what you would do for 8-ply yarn. That's what you would do for 4-ply yarn. So, and look, when you actually look at it, it's a 4-ply. It's actually, so it's obviously comprised of 8 plies of yarn, but it is a sock weight. So, I'm not going to make, obviously not going to make 8-ply socks out of this, and I'm not going to make socks out of it. It is 100% superwash, so I probably could, but it doesn't have any nylon in it, and I would only ever wear my socks inside shoes, and they would probably wear a little bit quicker, especially because it's superwash. If it had been non-superwash, it would have felted and it wouldn't have mattered so much. And now that I've wound it up, I'm actually really thinking that it would make a nice top. I think the colours will blend really well together. That's really good representation back there. The colours will blend really well together and make a nice sort of tank top. So I've been looking at tank top patterns, and I found the Plot Twist Tank by Jamie Creates, who's also an Australian. She's a designer who's from Melbourne, and it is a cute little tank top that has cable details around the neckband, around the arms, down the side, and around the hem. And I think it looks really, really cute. This is one skein, so it is, does it even say how much? So this is how terrible, oh no, here we go, 420 yards in here. So I think I should be able to make the size small of the tank top, which means I'll be able to get a little bit more length than the cropped version that she has in the pattern. And so I'm just going to put this aside with the plan to make that. I don't think I'm going to cast it on straight away because I won't be able to wear it for quite a while, and I want to focus on the jumper. But I've kind of earmarked this as being one of those. Then the other thing that I was looking at is that I have some hand spun in my stash that I have not done anything with. In fact, I don't think I've only knit with one thing out of all of my hand spun. But I have this big skein of yarn. I was going to weigh it before I started recording and I completely forgot. So I'll have to put it on the screen how much this weighs and roughly how much meterage it is. And I thought that it would go really beautifully with this dark green that I have, which is by Colleen's Crafts. I have 2 balls of this. They're both about 120 grams worth. This is called Kelp Green, and it is a green. It's over dyed from a grey base, and it is Corriedale. So this is 100% Corriedale, non-superwash. I'm pretty sure that this is also non-superwash. And I thought that that would make something really, really pretty. I don't think I have enough of this by itself, or this by itself, to be able to make a full jumper. I don't particularly want to do stripes, or not traditional stripes anyway. So I'm looking at a whole lot of different intarsia, color work kind of projects. I think it's going to have to be some form of intarsia or striping, because if it's color work, I'm going to have to carry them both anyway. Whereas if it's intarsia or stripes, I'm only going to be using one color at any one time, and therefore I'll get the most out of both of the colors. But I think this has got lots of different it's got blues and pinks and peaches. It's sort of a little like spin cycly kind of in its in how I ended up applying it. I'm really proud of this yarn, and I'd really love to be able to put it into something that I can actually wear. And given that this is spun very similarly, I think that would go really well together. So far, I've found a few patterns that I am considering. So I just have to look at my Ravelry so that I can see what I've been browsing. There is the Leaps and Bounds jumper, which has one sleeve in one color, and then the body and the other sleeve are in the other color and stripes. That could be interesting. Or the Elba's pullover, which is striping, but it's with intarsia so that the stripes are offset against each other. Or there's Officer by Maxim Sear, which is a checkerboard pattern pretty much, which would be probably the most basic, I think, way to use it. I don't know. And I've never done intarsia before, so I think it's something that I should really step into and try. So I have been dreaming about my next project, even though I've just started the Galan, but I was dreaming about that for quite a while, and now I've started and I'm really enjoying it. So I think this way of preparing for my next knit by choosing something that I love out of my stash is really the way that I need to go. I do need to go through some unfinished projects that are sitting on the floor in my place. I cleaned up all of my yarn cupboard, and now there's no room in there for those bags, and they're just like sitting at the front, which is a little bit embarrassing. But I probably need to go through those and put away some yarn that's sitting in there balled up or whatever that from finished projects. I'm pretty sure that there's just some things in there that don't even need to be in a bag anymore. But also I know that there are some unfinished projects that I need to either finish or choose to hibernate properly for a little while or pull out. So maybe I should do a video about that in the coming weeks as well. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.